Welcome to the Gamer's Closet, Episode 3. This episode, The Werewolves of Millers Hollow. Published in 2001 by the Lui-même Game Company, was created by Philippe Parles and Harvey Marley. It was the proud recipient of two major awards in the 2002 Cannes International Game Festival, including the Golden Ace and the As d'Or Awards. The game itself has been translated into multiple languages, including English, German, and Vietnamese, and this version here is the American variation of this game. It has been referred to myself as Heads Up 7 Up, except where people die. The New Moon expansion, the Village expansion, and the Characters expansion will not be covered in this video. Please stay tuned for future content where I will be going over each of the expansions individually and reflecting each of the components of those games at that time. Thank you. Let's take a quick overview of the components of this game. The werewolf cards, pictured up on the top right, each night bite, kill, and devour one townsperson. During the day, they try to conceal their identity and vile deeds from the rest of the townsfolk. Depending on the number of players and variants used in this game, there could possibly be anywhere from 1 to 4 werewolves in play at a given time. Ordinary townsfolk cards, which are pictured up on the top left, are folks that have no abilities other than their own intuition. These ordinary townspersons must analyze a player's behavior to guess who is a werewolf, and try not to be falsely mistaken for a werewolf, and unfortunately unduly lynched, hanged, and burned. The fortune teller card, pictured center right, can see the true personality of one player. The fortune teller chooses which player this will be, and then must help the other townfolk to correctly identify werewolves, hopefully without becoming a target of the werewolves him or herself. The sheriff card, pictured center left, is not a normal card. Instead of being dealt like the rest of the characters, this card is entrusted to one of the players. Just like a real sheriff, this player is elected by vote of the townsfolk. The player receiving the most votes gets to be the sheriff. Once elected, the sheriff cannot refuse the honor. Henceforth, this player's votes counts as 2 votes. Always applied to a single player, you cannot split the voting. If the sheriff is eliminated upon his or her deathbed, the sheriff then names a successor, who will then become the new sheriff. The hunter card, pictured center right, is also an interesting card. If the hunter is killed by werewolves or lynched by members of the townsfolk, he or she can retaliate against someone. With his or her dying breath, the hunter will shoot, thus eliminating any one other player of their choice. The little girl card, pictured on the top left, is very curious. She can open her eyes during the night to spy on werewolves. However, if she's caught in the act by the werewolf, she immediately dies of fright silently instead of the designated victim. The little girl can spy during the night phase on the werewolf's turn. When the little girl is in play, it is necessary for all players to avoid hiding their faces with hands, cards, etc. when sleeping. If the thief card is used, which is pictured center left, take 2 additional ordinary townsfolk cards and add them to the deck for the beginning of the game. After the cards are shuffled and dealt, the 2 extra cards are placed face down at the center of the table. During the preliminary turn of the first night, the thief looks at those 2 cards and may trade his or her card with one of those 2 cards. However, if both cards are werewolves, the thief must trade his card for one of them. If the thief takes on the extra card, he or she assumes the role of this character for the rest of the game. Cupid, pictured on the bottom, is the town matchmaker. They cause 2 people to instantly fall in love. During the first night of the game, Cupid designates 2 players who will be in love with one another for the rest of the game. Cupid can choose him or herself as one of the lovers. If one of the lovers dies, the other immediately commits suicide in a fit of grief. A love cannot, even as a bluff, vote to lynch their significant other. A special case is if one of the lovers is a werewolf, then the werewolf and the townsperson then work together to eliminate the remaining townspeople. Finally, the witch, pictured up on the top right, is a town person that knows how to make two very powerful potions. The first is a healing potion, which can be used to resurrect a player that is killed by a werewolf. The second is a poison, used during the night to eliminate one player. Each potion can only be used once per game. The witch can use either potion on themselves if they wish. The witch can use the poison at night and then follow up with a healing potion the next day. If this character is used, you can have an evening where one person dies, two people die, or nobody dies. Cards need to be agreed on before play starts. The fortune teller is required to be in the pile at every single game, no matter how many players you have. The werewolves, anywhere from 8 to 11 players, you need to have 2 werewolves. 12 to 17 players required 3 werewolves, and 18 players are 4 werewolves. The rest of the cards are determined by the group you want to play with, so you may pick and choose which ones you want to use. How to play this game. The players choose a moderator. For the first few games, the moderator should be someone that is familiar with all of the rules of this game. The moderator is the most important player in this game. It's their job to create a strong atmosphere to make the game truly enjoyable. The moderator takes the appropriate number of cards, shuffles them, and deals 1 card face down to each player. Each player then secretly looks at their card and places it face down in front of themselves. The moderator puts the town to sleep by saying night falls and the town is asleep and everyone closes their eyes. All players then close their eyes, and then depending on the play cycle, the moderator will then call on you. The moderator then wakes the thief up, and the thief then chooses the 2 cards on the table if they want to change them or not, then goes back to sleep. The moderator then wakes Cupid up, who then chooses 2 lovers. The moderator then walks around the table and discreetly taps the shoulders of the 2 lovers while keeping their eyes closed, and then Cupid goes back to sleep. The moderator then wakes the lovers up, so that way the lovers then can actually see who their other lover is. So that'll end up the setup round, and then the standard turn cycle runs as follows. The moderator will wake the fortune teller up. The fortune teller then can check to see if any one of the other players is, and then goes back to sleep. The moderator will then wake the werewolves up, so the werewolves recognize each other and can choose a victim. The little girl can try to peek during this phase, but again, if the werewolves catch the little girl, she dies instantly. They go back to sleep. The witch then wakes up and actually can do thumbs up or thumbs down to poisoning or healing people, and then goes back to sleep. At this point, the moderator wakes the town up. The town is then informed if anyone has died. If no one has died, then they still believe a werewolf is on hand, so they must figure out who the werewolf is. If any one of the other players has died, hence the hunter then immediately gets to blow someone away. If one of the lovers has died, then the other lover commits suicide. And if the little girl has died, then they find a little girl on top of everything else. If the werewolves have not come to a conclusion of who they wanted to kill, then no one again has died. Anyone that has died is not allowed to communicate with any of the players that are still playing this game, and then once again the town goes to sleep and then restarts step 1 from the fortune teller's turn forward until the game has reached its conclusion. Scoring the endgame is very easy. The townsfolk win if the werewolves are all killed, the werewolves win if the townspeople are all killed, and the lovers win if they are the only players remaining and all the other players have been killed. If you are looking for a new game, I would recommend Werewolves to you. It's a very easy game to play, ranges anywhere from 8 to 18 players, so it's a great party game, ages 10 and up. Game length is anywhere from about 20 to 30 minutes, and it's a very easy game to play. The game itself is not very difficult to find. You can buy it on such fine retailers as eBay or Amazon, or used game sites online. The game itself runs anywhere from about $10 to $20, so not very expensive as games go. So again, I do recommend this game. It's a great party game. Fun will be had by all who play it, and it has a very high replayability. Well, that's it for us here at the Gamer's Closet. I'd like to thank you for watching the latest episode of our game series. Please hit subscribe up in the top right corner. If there's any games that you wish us to review, please put it in the comments below. And, as always, please Have a great gaming day.